Back to the Future. Could it actually happen with a real time machine?
I was devastated. I thought if I could build a time machine that I could go back and see him again and tell him what was going to happen, maybe save his life. And so that became an obsession for me.
Time travel has fascinated humanity for generations. The idea of moving through time, whether to explore the past or peer into the future, arouses endless curiosity and ignites the imagination. This obsession with time travel began long before modern hits like Interstellar or the Marvel movies. While many doubt its possibility, there are interesting accounts from people who claim to have lived it. For example, 2 journalists allegedly witnessed a major news event before it happened. Can time travel be real? Hit the subscribe button and stay with us as we uncover the mysteries of time machines. The man behind the infamous time machine. In early 1995, Mike Markham, a 21-year-old electrical engineering student from Stanberry, Missouri, embarked on an ambitious project, building a time machine. His goal? To travel to the future and retrieve winning lottery numbers to secure his fortune. Despite lacking formal training, Mike pressed on with his experiments on the cluttered back porch of his home, a chaotic space littered with parts of old TVs, radios, and CDs, a true graveyard of discarded appliances. His journey into the world of time travel began with his work on a modified Jacob's ladder, a device that would lead to an astonishing discovery. Using a homemade electronic transformer capable of generating 20,000 volts, far beyond the standard household voltage of 120 to 240 volts, Mike tweaked Jacob's ladder to conduct his experiments. He improvised further by using wire hangers as conductors and lasers to control air pressure and temperature fluctuations, which could disrupt the results. During one experiment, Mike claimed to witness something extraordinary, an 8-inch circular vortex. To test its effects, he repeatedly tossed a metal screw into the vortex. According to Mike, the screw would vanish and reappear a few feet away after a second, leading him to believe it had been transported through time before re-emerging when time caught up. Fueled by this apparent breakthrough, Mike decided to scale up his invention. His vision was to build a time machine towering 8 feet tall, a far cry from his initial 8-inch device. However, his ambitious plans required an immense power source, and his first attempt ended in failure when the device caught fire. Undeterred, Mike theorized that larger transformers producing higher voltages would be the solution. But with each transformer costing around $20,000, he resorted to stealing 6 old transformers from a local power plant to keep his work moving forward. This bold act had serious consequences. When he hooked up the stolen transformers to his device, it triggered a massive blackout, plunging his neighborhood into darkness for hours. The authorities quickly tracked him down, searching his home and arresting him for theft. During his trial, Mike openly admitted his intentions to use the time machine to secure lottery numbers and fund a research facility. After serving a short prison sentence, he gained local fame by sharing his story on Art Bell's paranormal radio show. Dubbed Madman Mike by the host, he embraced the nickname and captivated listeners with tales of his experiments and time travel ambitions. While on air, Mike revealed that he had run out of money and parts for his research, even broadcasting his phone number in a desperate plea for help. For 3 days, he received a flood of calls, some of which led to donations from intrigued listeners. With their support, Mike constructed a second, far more powerful time machine. This time, his goal was to create an electromagnetic vortex large enough to allow a human to step through, himself included. Thus, the strange, daring saga of Madman Mike and his quest for time travel continued. A year after his initial radio appearance, Mike Markham returned to the show and was asked what he'd bring on his time travel journey. His answer was simple: he'd only take his phone. In 1996, Mike confidently claimed he was just 30 days away from completing a fully legal time machine. But in 1997, he vanished without warning, plunging his story into one of time travel's greatest mysteries. Shortly after Mike's disappearance, a listener of the radio show called in with a bizarre story. The listener recounted a police report from the 1930s, detailing the discovery of a man crushed to death inside an unusual metal tube on a California beach. Next to the body was an odd object that resembled a modern cell phone. The eerie connection sparked speculation. Could this have been Mike, somehow transported back in time? Fast forward to 2022, when someone claiming to be Mike resurfaced online, denying rumors of his death in the 1930s. This user, posting under the name Rel Madman Markham, had reportedly been active since 2015, including a third radio interview that same year. In February 2015, the user wrote on a paranormal blog, "Rumors are ablaze that I am dead, unwell, and had time traveled to 1930-something where I died on a beach in a tube." Whoever posted those pictures of a redhead is not me. That was some school kid with my name, wrongly linked to me years ago. Whatever was found in the 1930s wasn't me, and while I've read that story was debunked, I can't find the article. When asked about his progress on building another time machine, the user responded, "Yes, but it's stalled until I can get some inverters. I have 24-volt panels in my bus for a project, though they've gotten a bit weathered from being outside." Despite his claims, he's yet to provide solid evidence proving his identity, leaving fans divided. Some believe Mike is alive, having changed his name and chosen a quiet life away from the spotlight. Others think his experiments may have succeeded, sending him somewhere, or somewhen, beyond reach. While many physicists dismiss time travel as impossible, theoretical physics offers intriguing hypotheses, suggesting it might one day be achievable, albeit with immense challenges. Let's explore one prominent theory that could turn time travel from fiction into reality. Time suddenly slowed down. Einstein's theory of general relativity connects time and space in a unified framework called space-time. When massive objects interact with gravitational fields, they create a phenomenon called time dilation, where time slows down. This concept has been proven in experiments with atomic clocks, which show measurable differences when placed in fast-moving planes or intense gravitational fields. The idea of traveling into the past has inspired theories involving exotic solutions, like closed time-like curves, CTCs. CTCs are hypothetical loops in space-time that could theoretically allow someone to travel back in time and return to their starting point. For instance, solutions like the Gödel metric suggest that rotating universes might support these loops. However, CTCs come with major challenges, such as the grandfather paradox, where a time traveler could accidentally prevent their own existence, creating logical inconsistencies. To address these paradoxes, physicists continue to study how space-time consistency and causality might be preserved. At MIT, scientists have proposed fascinating, albeit theoretical, approaches to resolving time travel paradoxes. These include ideas like quantum teleportation and limiting what a time traveler could do to avoid creating contradictions. However, time travel faces additional hurdles in the realm of quantum mechanics. One key obstacle is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which imposes fundamental limits on how precisely certain properties, such as position and momentum, can be measured simultaneously. Quantum mechanics also opens up intriguing possibilities, including the existence of alternate timelines or parallel universes. According to some interpretations, every possible outcome of a quantum event may unfold in its own separate reality. This ties into the controversial multiverse theory, which suggests that countless universes exist alongside our own, each potentially following its own unique rules of physics and reality. Our universe, vast beyond comprehension, is filled with hundreds of billions, perhaps trillions, of galaxies, each containing countless stars. Some scientists estimate the observable universe to span about 7 billion light-years in circumference. Yet, theories suggest that what we see is just a fraction of existence. Beyond our physical reality could lie parallel or remote universes that mirror or diverge from our own, taking us far beyond what is currently visible or measurable. These ideas, though still speculative, are reshaping how we think about time, space, and the nature of reality itself. Arguments about multiverses and parallel universes are frequently discussed with other important scientific theories like string theory and the Big Bang theory. It is, however, important to note that these concepts do not support the idea of traveling between these different worlds, as that is largely seen as an impossibility. But even if we could travel between these worlds, would that even be considered time travel? Even with these fascinating theories, there have been several other obstacles in the way of time travel. For example, the energy requirements for time travel pose significant challenges, because current technology is not at the necessary level, particularly for traveling through CTCs and exotic matter. While time travel to the past requires the use of wormholes, time travel to the future would require traveling at the speed of light. The reason both kinds of time travel are so challenging to achieve is that we have not advanced to the point in technology where we can make objects go faster than light, nor do we have working wormhole machines lying around somewhere. The same is true for the energy required. The majority of time travel theories put forth the need for negative mass or negative energy, neither of which can be found in the universe we exist in. Furthermore, although some physicists have theorized a time machine free of negative matter, that machine also needed more energy than the universe could hold. There is also the problem of dark energy and dark matter. The existence and stability of these dark matters are called into question by their theoretical requirement. Furthermore, the idea of quantum gravity is largely theoretical due to an absence of supporting data and our very limited understanding. When it comes to time travel, we are constantly dealing with concepts and energy that we cannot even understand, not to mention use. Time-traveling ideas are far more complex than we currently understand. As such, time travel, even as a scientific consideration, is more or less speculative than practical. There is simply more to time travel than just hopping in a time machine and punching in the destination's date. Despite the lack of undeniable scientific proof that time travel is possible, there have been notable stories where people claim to have accidentally traveled to a time different from theirs, like in the mysterious case of Sir Victor Goddard, who accidentally traveled to the future. Who is Sir Victor Goddard? Air Marshal. Sir Robert Victor Goddard claimed to have experienced an accidental journey into the future. Back in 1935, while serving as a wing commander, Sir Goddard was tasked with inspecting an abandoned airbase in Dream, Scotland, near Edinburgh. Flying over the site, he noted its dilapidated state, cracks in the tarmac sprouting wild grass, with cattle grazing freely. It was evident to him that the airbase had been deserted for quite some time and was in a state of complete neglect. Later, while piloting his biplane, Sir Goddard encountered a bizarre storm. Dark clouds with an unusual brownish-yellow tint and powerful winds engulfed his aircraft, causing him to lose control. His plane spiraled down, but he managed to stabilize it and flew out of the storm into unexpectedly clear, sunny skies. The sudden shift from chaos to serenity was startling, transforming what had been a stormy day into one filled with bright sunlight. To his astonishment, the abandoned Dream airbase he had previously inspected appeared completely transformed. It was now fully operational, bustling with activity. Mechanics in blue coveralls were working on yellow aircraft parked neatly on the runway. What truly baffled Sir Goddard was that some of these planes were unfamiliar to him, models that didn't exist in 1935. Furthermore, Air Force mechanics at the time wore khaki uniforms, and planes were painted silver, not yellow. The sight left him deeply puzzled, as it seemed impossible for such dramatic renovations to have been completed in such a short time. 4 years later, during the height of the European War, Sir Goddard returned to Drem Air Base and was shocked to see exactly what he had witnessed during that strange flight. The mechanics were dressed in the same blue coveralls, and the yellow planes were the same models he had seen before. Among them was the mysterious aircraft he couldn't identify earlier, the Miles Magister, a plane that had its first flight in 1937, 2 years after his peculiar vision in 1935. Skeptics have attempted to dismiss Sir Goddard's story, suggesting he may have been mistaken or misidentified his location during the storm. But their arguments fail to explain the uncanny details: the mechanics' uniforms, the yellow planes, and most notably, the Miles Magister, which didn't even exist at the time. The inexplicable storm and its sudden disappearance add another layer of mystery, making it difficult to write off the experience as mere confusion. Remarkably, Sir Goddard's story isn't unique. Similar claims of accidental time travel have been reported, including accounts of people witnessing travelers from different eras. His extraordinary experience continues to challenge our understanding of time and reality. Time traveler on Highway 167 spotted. In 1988, Strange Magazine 2 published an intriguing article by Ken Moe titled Time Traveler. The story revolves around an unusual encounter that took place on October 20th, 1969. LC and his business partner, Charlie, were driving along Highway 167 towards Lafayette, Louisiana, after having lunch in Abbeville. It was 1:30 p.m., the sky was clear, and the temperature was a cool 60 degrees, so they had their windows rolled down, enjoying the drive. As they cruised along the freeway, they noticed a car approaching them slowly. At first, they thought little of it, but as it got closer, they realized it was no ordinary vehicle. It looked like an antique, an old turtleback type of car, but in pristine, showroom condition. They couldn't help but stare at the odd sight. What caught their attention even more was the car's license plate. It had the year 1940 on it, which seemed impossible for such a vehicle to be on the road in 1969, unless it was being used for a special, ceremonial purpose. As they got closer, LC and Charlie noticed the driver, a young woman dressed in an old-fashioned 1940s outfit, complete with a feathered hat and a fur coat that seemed out of place for the 1960s. A small child stood on the passenger seat, also bundled in heavy clothing that seemed strange for the weather. Despite the cool temperature, the woman had her windows rolled up, which seemed odd since they were enjoying the breeze. As they pulled up alongside the car, they were taken aback by the distressed look on the woman's face. She appeared to be in a state of panic, glancing back and forth, seemingly lost or in urgent need of help. LC called out to ask if she needed assistance, to which she nodded in confirmation. She seemed confused, studying LC's car with a puzzled expression. The design of the older cars from the 40s meant that she had to look down at LC's 1960s vehicle, and perhaps because her windows were up, she struggled to hear them clearly. After some back-and-forth gestures, LC suggested she pull over to the side of the road, but when they stopped and looked back, the woman and her car had vanished without a trace. Highway 167 was an open road, with no place for her to hide, so they were left shocked and confused by her sudden disappearance. To add to the mystery, a vehicle that had been behind the antique car pulled up beside them. The driver was bewildered and asked what had happened to the car in front of them. He had thought there had been some kind of accident between LC's car and the antique vehicle. The three men exchanged stories, and the out-of-towner was so perplexed that he wanted to report it to the police, believing it was a missing persons case. LC and Charlie, however, chose not to, as they had no idea where the woman and child had gone. The three men exchanged contact details, and for years afterward, they kept in touch to ensure they weren't imagining the strange event. The mystery of the vanishing woman and child remains unsolved. Were they time travelers from 1940 who accidentally slipped into the wrong timeline? Or were they stuck in some sort of limbo, appearing in different periods but never able to return to their own? Meanwhile, this story wasn't the only strange phenomenon involving time. Two newsmen would later witness a news event unfold 11 years before it even happened, watching viral news 11 years back in time. In the Little Giant Book of Eerie Thrills and Unspeakable Chills, authors Ron Edwards, C.B. Colby, and John Macklin recount a bizarre and unsettling tale of time distortion that befell two men, reporter J. Bernard Hutton and photographer Joachim Brandt, in 1932. The two men were working on a feature about the Hamburg shipyard in Germany when they were unexpectedly thrust into a scene that would defy all logic and explanation. As they were preparing to leave the shipyard, the sounds of aircraft engines suddenly filled the air. Looking up, they were horrified to see a sky full of fighter planes, followed by the deafening noise of anti-aircraft batteries firing into the sky. Explosions rocked the shipyard as bombs rained down, and the area quickly transformed into a war zone. Chaos ensued, with buildings collapsing and debris flying everywhere. The men were thrown into a panic, their immediate concern for survival driving them to escape the area as quickly as possible. Hutton, in a final attempt to understand the situation, asked a nearby security guard what they could do to help. The guard's response was simple yet chilling. "Leave immediately." The two men rushed to their car and fled towards Hamburg, hoping to find safety in the city. However, as they arrived, something strange occurred. The once chaotic and war-torn landscape had completely transformed. The sky was clear, and the destruction had vanished as if it had never happened. Hamburg appeared untouched, normal, calm, and peaceful. There were no signs of the devastation they had just witnessed. Even the shipyard, now in the distance, appeared pristine, with no trace of the airstrike or the mayhem they had narrowly escaped. When they returned to their newspaper office and recounted their story, their co-workers were dismissive. Brandt's photos of the shipyard, taken during the supposed attack, showed nothing unusual. The images depicted a perfectly intact shipyard, looking brand new and unscathed. The office staff concluded that the two men must have been intoxicated or delusional, attributing the entire incident to a distorted perception caused by too much alcohol. Despite the skepticism they faced, the true shock came years later. In 1943, Bernard Hutton came across a newspaper article that left him stunned. The story described a Royal Air Force raid on the Hamburg shipyard, a successful bombing attack during World War II. As he read the details, Hutton could hardly believe his eyes. The account mirrored his and Brandt's experience from 11 years earlier, describing an attack on the shipyard that they had witnessed firsthand, but which had never occurred at the time. This uncanny experience of witnessing an event before it actually happened left Hutton with a lingering sense of disbelief and confusion. He had seen the destruction firsthand, yet it hadn't occurred in the timeline they had experienced. The airstrikes, the chaos, the bombs, all had been a glimpse into the future, a momentary rift in the fabric of time. While many of the time travel-related stories we've explored involve accidental encounters with the mysterious forces of time, Hutton's case was different. He was not merely an observer, he was determined to make something significant out of his experience. His tale of time travel, like others, remains a perplexing puzzle that blurs the lines between reality and the supernatural, leaving us to wonder how many more people, like Hutton, have been unknowingly caught in the strange web of time. The time-traveling con man. The mysterious case of Andrew Carlson, arrested on January 28, 2003, for insider trading, remains one of the most peculiar stories in modern history, blurring the line between reality and the extraordinary. Within a mere 2 weeks, Carlson managed to transform a modest $800 investment into a staggering $350 million. This stunning success came from 126 high-risk stock trades, each of which turned a massive profit, without a single loss. Such an achievement in the stock market, especially within such a brief time frame, seemed impossible and aroused immediate suspicion. The Securities Exchange Commission, unable to explain the seemingly miraculous gains, turned to the FBI. Upon questioning, Carlson made an extraordinary claim. He was a time traveler from the year 2256. He explained that his knowledge of future events allowed him to predict the stock market with uncanny accuracy, which was why his trades had been so successful. As if his story wasn't bizarre enough, Carlson went on to provide specific details about future events, including the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden and a potential cure for AIDS. Naturally, the FBI dismissed his statements as either a fabrication or an attempt to evade responsibility for his financial success. However, his story took another strange turn. After being released on bond, Carlson vanished without a trace. Despite extensive efforts by authorities, no one has been able to locate him since. His sudden disappearance has left many wondering if there was more truth to his story than initially believed. The oddities surrounding Carlson don't end with his financial exploits or his disappearance. It was revealed that there were no official records of his existence prior to the early 2000s. No birth certificate, no school records, no medical history, nothing. His sudden appearance, coupled with his incredible success and bizarre claims, has sparked heated debates. Some believe that Carlson was simply an exceptionally skilled scam artist who knew how to game the system. Others argue that the possibility of time travel cannot be ruled out entirely, especially given the accuracy of some of his predictions, such as the exact date of the US invasion of Iraq. What remains certain is that Andrew Carlson's case remains one of the most perplexing and fascinating stories of our time, challenging our understanding of what is possible and inviting further questions about the nature of time itself. Thanks for watching these interesting accounts of time travelers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more captivating stories like this one.